Hello, all you big, beautiful brains out there. Today, we're going to talk about white noise. Before we get started, take a minute to subscribe to Psy vs. Psy. Help out your friendly neighborhood psychologist while I tell you all about white noise. These days, you can get apps and playlists and even really expensive specifically designed machines, all to create white noise. The creation of white noise has actually become something of an industry, and it's all based on the premise that white noise can help you sleep better and get to sleep faster. So let's take a look at what white noise is, how it impacts your brain, and then we'll look at the science behind whether or not it helps us sleep. White noise is often described as a hissing or a whooshing sound, and to me, it's always sounded like the beach, in particular, the waves at the beach. A lot of those expensive white noise sound machines that can produce tons of relaxing sounds default to a wave sound. And white noise is intended to mask or conceal other startling noises that could be in your environment. By creating a blanket of essentially static for your hearing, your brain pays less attention to smaller noises that can be concealed under that static of white noise. If you've watched our video on consciousness and sleep, you know that technically we are conscious while we're sleeping, and we're certainly aware of noises in our surroundings. That's why you can hear things like your alarm or a dog barking. You're asleep, but you're still listening. White noise masks those outside noises that can alert you out of sleep. We can actually see white noise's masking abilities in an EEG. A study all the way back in 1982 found that white noise fell in kind of a sweet spot in between sounds. Your brain reacts less to white noise than to pure tones, but it reacts more than it would with white noise than it does other random sounds, like say a clicking. Our brains use the intensity and duration of sound cues to determine if they are significant enough to make us consciously aware of, and white noise just seems to fall under that threshold of needing attention, but being loud and strong enough to cover up other sounds. So white noise's trick isn't so much about the sound we're hearing, but about our brain's ability to tune out or to not be consciously aware of that white noise whoosh. It's really more about attention than hearing. To test it out, I convinced my partner we needed to gather some real-life data on white noise all on our own. After all, there is no better science than hands-on science, and hey, I'll admit I may have come up with this whole "we should do a white noises effect on the brain" video as an excuse to go to the beach. The white noise exercise was relatively simple. While under a white noise condition, I simply had my partner call my name, which is a particularly pertinent stimulus, and counted how often I could hear him calling it, as opposed to how many times I could hear him press the same training clicker we use to train our dogs. I heard my name almost every time, but I'll admit I really struggled to hear the clicker. The waves did a pretty good job of masking the noise, almost to the point where I started wondering what other sounds I might be missing. And not to be bad scientists, we repeated the same trials in a non-white noise environment here in our studio, and here I had no trouble hearing both my name and the clicker sound equally well. Although the clicker session did almost send our dogs into a tizzy. So after some very serious and deliberative data collection, it was pretty evident that white noise can and does mask those noises, which might be interrupting sleep for many people. But since it's really more about attention than hearing, does that mean that white noise will always help us sleep? One of the most popularly cited scientific studies of white noise was actually done to find out if white noise would help people in the ICU sleep better. Hospitals can be really noisy, and it makes it hard to sleep. But people in hospitals usually need to get sleep to get better. I actually really love practical science like this, where you think of something that could make people's lives healthier or easier, and then scientifically test it out. they did find that white noise was able to increase arousal thresholds, or in regular words, that the white noise masked the recorded ICU noises that they played in the sleep study lab. It did its job. But the study does have some problems. For starters, like I just mentioned, it was in a lab and not in an ICU. There would be some big ethical considerations doing this in a real ICU though, so they kind of get a pass. I mean, the patients in an ICU are there for really serious reasons, and it wouldn't be great to stress them out even more by having them participate in this kind of study. Plus, it's probably better to have healthy participants so that illness isn't a confound to consider than looking into the results of the study. Probably the bigger problem is that there were only 4 participants, and that's really not a lot. The studies that we have do tend to report that white noise might not help with sleep as much as we think. There have been studies since the early 90s, and everyone from babies to college students, and the results on the collective literature are really mixed at best. There was a pretty comprehensive review of white noise sleep data literature that came out in February of 2021. So if you're interested in reading the science for yourself, which we always strongly encourage here on Psy vs. Psy, I'll link that paper down in the comments below. That paper urges caution when using white noise as a sleep aid, especially if you are not already experiencing sleep issues, as recent concerns have arisen in the medical community about people who do use white noise as a sleep aid not allowing downtime for the auditory processing centers in their brain. A 2018 study on using white noise to treat the auditory condition tinnitus claims noise exposure therapies offer a seductive short-term solution for relief, but in the long term undermine the functional and structural integrity of the central auditory system and the brain more generally, which is quite frankly very scary. I think the big takeaway from all of this is that just because something works doesn't necessarily mean it should be used by and recommended to everyone. If you found this video because you're considering using white noise to help you sleep, definitely check with your doctor or medical professional first. They'll be able to give you the positives and negatives based on your specific situation so that you can weigh the science for yourself and make a better, more informed decision about your health. If you found this video because you like seeing Psy trick Psy into a completely unnecessary trip to the beach using science as a lure, then yeah, you definitely came to the right place. Got you covered. If you want to know more about the psychology of sleep, make sure you subscribe to Psy vs. Psy so you can get all of our other videos and you can learn all about the science of psychology. Until next time, keep thinking, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.